No filters, no limits, just fearless creators changing the game. Unmasked series, the revolution is personal. Athos, welcome to Unmasked.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming in. We have a lot to unpack, and I think that you have such an amazing journey. A journey that I also think that's not well documented enough. And from like a visual perspective, I don't know if there's been a lot of interviews before this, but I think it's such an incredible journey.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
I have done a few in the past, but not a handful. So maybe maybe people are still unaware.
Yeah.
But it has been an incredible journey. Yeah.
Are you selective about who you talk to?
Not really. I'm the kind of person who doesn't mind being behind the scenes and making sure that the story we're telling is as great as it can be. And letting other people talk about it, but I'm passionate about all my projects, but in particular Class of 96.
Absolutely.
Because of my love for football.
Absolutely.
And that is a common theme in my work, football.
Especially for the country. Okay, so let's talk about your journey. How do you get started into the business? How do you know what success looks like? What propelled you into what you are today?
I guess there was a growing love for cinema.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, like my parents loved movies, my brothers loved movies. We just like watched and TV series. We'd watch so much, but I never really thought of it as a career when I was finishing school. I thought that it's kind of just a hobby. It's not something that you would do for the rest of your life. And then I ended up like doing 2 years of a BCom at UNISA because I thought I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And I was good at accounting that was like my strongest subject. So I did that. But I could feel after 2 years, this wasn't like really fulfilling me. And what I really loved was cinema. So I thought, let me try to take this seriously. And what I did was I had saved up to go to Los Angeles for 2 weeks just to check it out. And we're talking like 2000 now. So it's quite a while ago, almost 26 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I was just going to go to Los Angeles to check it out and try and understand how the business worked, like, in the epicenter.
Yeah.
And I had one contact. I had
one contact
just
before
one
you went to
contact.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, I just had one contact. A producer who I'd worked with here, I dabbled with. His son was in Los Angeles, and he'd been there for a while. So he said, just get in touch with him and see what he says.
Yeah.
So I got there. I checked it out. I called the guy. I went and met him. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, I'm not really sure because I don't know anything about this business. So he said, well, you should get an internship. And an internship is like a non-paid, but you learn how the business works. So he arranged an interview with a company called October Films, which no longer exists, but back then was a division of Universal Studios. It was bought by Universal Studios, and they would release art house films, like quite prestigious art house films that would get nominated at Oscars. I mean, like some of the films that were released while I was there was like Mark Lee's Hillary and Jackie, which got a couple of acting nominations that year.
Okay.
Robert Duvall's The Apostle. Robert Duvall just passed away last week. Which one of his films that he made. So it was an incredible. I got the internship, by the way. I went for the interview. They said, when can you start? I said tomorrow. I had to call my parents, tell them I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
I'm staying in Los Angeles for as long as this internship lasts. And the first thing they did was they put me in a room. They put a bunch of scripts on the table and they said, read and give us feedback on these projects.
Okay.
So that was the main thing I was doing, and the other thing was just printing like reams and reams of scripts for them.
So you were interpreting these scripts. So they would give you scripts and then you interpret the scripts.
Yeah, they'd say like how it works in Hollywood is like they'd say this particular actor is attached to this project, and we're looking at it as something that we could maybe release.
Yeah.
So you would read it. and tell them if you thought it was a strong story, if you thought the characters were strong enough to, you know, like, and you'd also evaluate like the kind of stars that were attached.
Yeah.
So that was like eye-opening to me because I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
And all I did for 6 months was read scripts. Karabo. That's literally all I did. I must have read like 4,500 scripts in 6 months.
My gosh.
Because there were so many projects coming through the
Yeah.
door, and they didn't have enough. I mean, that's one of the tasks that they give to interns to get their feedback. I don't know how seriously they take our feedback, but that was one of our tasks. And then the other thing is like it exposed me to the way like theatrical used to work back then. Like releasing your film at the box office rather than have it streamed like it is
Like
today.
today, yeah.
You know, like that window is getting smaller and smaller every day. But it was incredible to be able to understand like how many theaters there are in America alone, and how huge that business is.
You said something. I just find it so interesting because you just spoke about being in an internship role for 6 months.
Yes.
And all you did is read scripts.
Yes.
You did, at that point, you don't write anything.
I hadn't written anything.
Yeah. So how do they know? How do they know at that time, Brett, that listen, this is what Athos is saying, and this is quite substantial.
Well, you see, that's the thing, though. I don't think it was like tailored to me. It was just like the way the program they had for interns. So whoever interned there would do the same thing I would be doing.
Okay.
But for me, it was like a sign. Like it's pushing me towards like the stories, the words on the page. And I always had it, like I'd always wanted to be a writer, but I needed to convince myself.
Yeah.
And that happened long after that.
Okay.
But so that experience changed my life. I came back to South Africa. I started working with a production company at the time called Prime Media Pictures. Well, it was like Prime Media's movie making studio, but it didn't last very long. Like they closed it down after a year and a half or something.
Okay.
But it just gave me more like insight into like the kind of stories that South Africans were telling at the time.
Okay, so what year is this?
So this is like 2001.
This is a very interesting time in South African film industry because we see a lot of the stories are told differently. This is, 8 years after apartheid.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that everybody's trying to find something new.
Yes, I think because it was so new, we weren't really sure yet what kind of stories we wanted to tell, post-apartheid stories. Because a lot of the films that were made were like propagandist films made by the National Party at the time. But there were some counterculture films that like got banned, and we were trying to talk about like what was actually going on in the country.
Okay.
But I think like I'm trying to think of, I worked on a film. I was the script editor. One of the first films of post-apartheid was called, it had nothing to do with politics, which was what was so refreshing about it. It was just a comedy about a professional mourner who would go to funerals and get people
I'm already laughing.
tap into the emotion. It was called Max and Mona.
Okay.
By a filmmaker called Teddy Matera.
All right.
Who's now the head of film and TV at Wits. You should check it out. It's worth
What's it called?
Watching. Max and Mona.
Max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the first ones. But it was refreshing because even back then, it was like, where's that to go back to politics? You know, and like we'd seen so many of those stories already.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was just like refreshing. But this is like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost more than.
So you're bound to talk about politics in one shape or form.
Yes.
I want to go back to Los Angeles. So from Los Angeles into Johannesburg. So wait, I do know you're in London at some point.
Yeah, so I stayed a year when I came back to South Africa. I stayed a year and I worked with Prime Media Pictures and a couple of other producers. Then I decided I wanted to go experience the industry in London because I had an opportunity. I had a European passport.
Okay.
I went. I ended up staying for a year, but it was one of the most incredible years because England had just set up the Film Council, and we were about to invest a lot of money into film and TV.
Okay.
So I just arrived at the right time.
Yeah.
I spoke to an ex-South African who was leading the development fund at the British Film Council, and I got a script consultancy job there, and read like all the projects that were circulating at the time in 2002, 2003.
Was this one like a private company, or was it like under the
No,
BBC at the
it
time?
was like the government had
Ah,
filmed this, so it would be like our National Film and Video Foundation
okay,
would
cool.
be the equivalent.
And then the transition from London and Los Angeles back into South Africa. Tell me about that experience.
So when I came back, I had done quite a bit of work as a journalist. I was
Okay.
writing film journalism articles. I was interviewing filmmakers that I admired.
Okay.
I did that also I've done it all, Karabo.
Yeah.
And then when I came back, I started writing. It was the
Yeah.
first time I started writing.
Yeah.
And I got a job writing episodes for Scandal back
Okay.
then. I wrote quite a lot of episodes for them over 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I made a series. Initially, I actually made two series. The first one was from Zanzi Magic.
Mm-hmm.
It was called Mshiga Shiga.
Okay.
And it was like one of their first drama series that they had ever put on the channel. It was the Mzansi Magic was fairly new back
Yeah.
then. And we tried to tell the story in 10 episodes about a cop and a criminal caught on both sides.
Okay.
It's very similar to Heat.
Yeah, I was just yeah.
But in a South African context.
Okay.
And that was, I think, well received. Mzansi Magic received their first ever SAFTA nomination for that show. Richard Lunkuku was nominated for Best Actor.
Jeez.
And then after that, I made a series called Room 9,
Okay.
which is a science fiction procedural drama.
Yeah.
13 episodes. I was the head writer of that series, and I directed 2 episodes. It really blew up on SABC1 at the time, because we'd never really seen a sci-fi series before from South Africa. And we ended up winning the year after the best screenwriting of a drama series at the SAFTAs.
Jeez. Has there ever been a project that's like, well, it could be a documentary series or just like a television series? Has there ever been a point where you've just felt like this project has tested you emotionally? Like you've gone into a space, you've written about it, and you're like, my gosh, this is working on my feelings.
Yes, but none of those shows that I've mentioned so far.
Max and the Mona.
It would be the next big series I did was like,
Yeah.
it took me 10 years to actually finance it.
Okay.
But it was a series called Agents.
Okay.
And it was about a football agent who was representing like some of the top players in the country.
Yeah.
And the dynamics, the egos that go on behind the scenes, the like negotiating deals with clubs, the wheeling and dealing that goes on behind the scenes. I had got the idea because I used to watch a series called Entourage.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember Entourage.
Yeah.
But it really gave you like a behind the scenes, like a real insight into the way actors, the kind of relationships actors have with their agents, the kind of relationships actors have with, like in their personal lives,
Yeah.
and the way they hide that from the public. It was just like a very like shocking insight into that world. And I thought nobody had done that with football. Like nobody had ever, like the transfer window, that is like a story on its own. Like, what happens in
And the fans are always
window.
invested in the
The fans are like, it's trending every day on Twitter. They want to know which player is going where. And I just thought, like, why has nobody done a series about that?
Absolutely.
And so I kind of built that series from the ground up. Also 13 parts. We made it in Mauritius.
Okay.
We shot all the interiors. It's set in South Africa, but we shot most of it in Mauritius.
Yeah.
And it was one of the first, I think it's the second show that was ever available on Netflix.
Okay.
When Netflix came into the country.
Jeez.
So it came out on Netflix.
Yeah.
Then it came out on Canal Plus, dubbed in French. Then after that, it was on SABC1. And now it's like you can get it on Canal Plus. It's still on their channel.
In your writing process, or just in your filmmaking process, how do you manage not to lose your voice? How do you manage to not lose your originality when making something? Because I mean, unfortunately, with the advent of social media, the advent of the internet, there's always something that's going to distort the way you try to present something to the world. How do you keep your originality intact, your voice? How do you know that? Listen, this is Athos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I mean, the reason I mentioned agent is because that was the hardest project from an almost like what you're saying, like
yeah,
keeping control of the the creative through line, like
mm,
my vision. Because the minute you hand it over, I mean, you're still involved in production because I'm still kind of like the showrunner. I'm directing. I
mm,
directed 5 episodes on Agents, so that
jeez,
gives you a level of control. But
yeah,
it's 13 episodes. You got 2 other directors who are coming in. You've got other people who are coming in who have an opinion,
yeah,
and sometimes they want to pull you away from what you thought was original from that series. Sometimes they're doing it because there is something wrong with the material and you have to address it.
yeah,
So you always have to be like flexible to any kind of feedback as long as it makes it better. That's what I've learned over the
yeah,
years. But it was such a big series in terms of like the cast.
yeah,
They had like a massive cast. We were shooting between Mauritius and South Africa, so logistically it was complicated. It's like those kinds of things where sometimes you have no control over. You just have to hope that the 10 years that you put into it in terms of analyzing it from every single angle,
yeah,
analyzing every episode, that the story is strong enough, analyzing that these characters are engaging and audiences want to
yeah,
keep following them. It's difficult. Because if it's just you and the page, then you're in control. But the minute like you actually make it, there are so many other factors. There's so many moving pieces to it that you just have to hope that it all comes together and is shown in the best light possible.
I mean, talking about, you said the first 5 episodes for Agents, for instance. How important is it for you as a director, for the next director to see your vision, but because in some sorts of way he kind of will distort it, whether you will like it or not, because he's putting something else into the table. How do you know that this is teamwork makes the dream work? How do you know that we need to be aligned? Have you ever been in a position where you as a director, or you as a writer, have been in a case where this is not working and I need to find a way to navigate through this?
I have more with commissioned work sometimes because the
Ah,
thing is, it doesn't. What you think about it is not important when it's commissioned. It's what they are looking for. So if you're putting your own kind of ideas into this, but it was never really a part of the world or the narrative,
yeah.
you're not really fulfilling it. It's more when it's your own thing,
Okay.
is how to protect it.
Yeah.
Because I have to say, like overall, like all the directors and co-writers I've worked with over the years
Yeah.
have, we've all been on the same page. We've all been singing off the same hymn sheet. So I haven't really had that. With commission work, I have, but it's understandable sometimes because it's not your work.
Yeah.
Even if you disagree, you agreeing to write a story in a particular way.
Okay.
That's why they hired you.
Yeah, and then in terms of the artistic, because I've always, especially from your point of view, in terms of navigating the artistic vision and the commercial pleasure, the commercial value. Have you ever been in that situation where you've got something going on here, but
It's always a
it's a
consideration.
business
It's always a
nonetheless?
consideration.
Yeah.
You could make the greatest piece. You could make the greatest feature film of all time,
Mm,
and if nobody watches it, it's not going to work. It's you always have to consider both sides of it,
yeah.
because the thing is, like, a broadcaster or a streamer or a network is always going to ask you what's going to sell this. Like, why would people watch this?
But then,
There's so many. I mean, you go to Netflix, right?
yeah.
You spend like 5 minutes, you get dizzy because you don't know where to start.
Yeah.
There's so much. That's just Netflix. What about all
Yeah.
the other platforms?
But then again, wow, then how do you pitch this to them? I said, listen, this is what we have, but then they have a different idea. I said, listen, they don't see the business side of it or the economic side of it. How will they drive? How will they make money out of this? And you know this. I mean, you feel deeply invested in what you've created and what you're putting onto the table. I mean, do you twist their arm? Do you like? Well,
It, I
not
guess
physically, of
it's all
course.
different. It's different on each project, but
Yeah,
like let's take Agent for example. Like at
yeah.
very early on, at Canal Plus,
Mm,
they loved the whole concept of it. Like they saw how original it was,
okay.
and they thought because they have such a big audience who loves football, that alone was worth co-producing it with
Yeah.
us. But you know, I don't know how it works with Netflix originals. You know, like
Mm,
how much creative control the author has.
mm, mm.
And I don't know. Maybe they like to give control to the author.
Do you think the advent of streaming has kind of changed the way people produce their work now? How they, if I have something for Netflix, for instance, or any other streaming platform, do you think they will go out their way not to produce what they feel they want to produce, but something they feel that I'm doing this primarily for the streaming platform?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, streaming has changed everything.
Mm.
It,
For the good and bad.
for the good and bad.
What would be the
I'm
bad?
still old school, man. Like
Yeah.
I like to go and watch
You're
a movie
analog.
in the cinemas.
Yeah.
I am analog. I grew up in an analog time,
Yeah.
but I get like the advantages of streaming as well.
Yeah.
It's just it feels like I mean, if you could release your film theatrically,
Okay.
that's the best way to experience it with like people in a theater, strangers, but you're having a shared
Yeah.
experience. With streaming, you can pick it up and whenever you want. Like you
Yeah.
can watch it whenever you. It's just really convenient.
Mm.
But I think like the industry is in not the best moments at the moment because
Why is that the case?
the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition used to have a rebate system that would reward local filmmakers for making their films and employing people.
Mm.
That's the whole thing. Like, you're employing people in the film and TV industry. And that's been put on hold since last year, March, I think.
Mm.
And there has been a big campaign by the industry to address it because, people are out of work. There's not as many productions anymore. It's really a trying time for our
Yeah.
industry. It's not just South Africa, it's globally, but it certainly has affected South Africa. I
Yeah.
mean, we're desperate for that rebate system to come back to
Mm.
enable producers to make to tell good stories.
Mm. Do you think especially I'm as a writer, and this is the elephant in the room. AI has honestly just changed everything for for the good and the bad.
Yeah.
Um, I want to dwell on the bad because a lot of people don't want to talk about the elements in the room. How do you feel about AI getting into used more or less and more deeply getting into the filmmaking industry now as a writer? I don't want to talk about as a filmmaker because we can go on and
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
But as a
But
writer,
as a writer,
how do you feel about that?
I completely acknowledge like AI is an incredible tool
Yeah.
for a writer
Okay.
but I see it more from a research point of view rather than the actual letting the AI do the writing.
Yeah.
You can let AI write your script. You can like feed in like the structure of the premise of your story and
Yeah.
you can put all those details in, but it's not gonna write it. It's incredible what it can do.
Yeah.
But for me, like it could never write anything that I could come up with.
Yeah.
It doesn't have but it will in the future. That's the thing because
That's
it's
the scary
evolving
thing,
so
Athos.
quickly.
Yeah.
It can't write now,
Yeah.
but can I tell you it can't in 2 years' time? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe we're at the point where it can tell a human story better than a human can, and that's scary. But I know that it can never replicate anything that I write because my brain works in such strange ways.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple of the series that I've worked on over the years. It's very particularly me.
Mm.
If you watch Agents and you knew me, you'd be like, oh, that's Athos.
That's Athos,
It's
yeah.
football, it's film,
Yeah.
it's like the two things he loves,
Yeah.
and that's the story he's telling for 13 episodes.
Yeah.
You know, that's like
There's a
my
human
DNA
there's a
is in
human
there,
connection.
you know?
Yeah, there's
The
always a human connection. Yeah.
And while it's always artificial, will it ever really be able to replicate like human emotion in any like meaningful way?
Yeah.
That's the question. But the way it's evolving, it's scary. You never know.
Jeez.
I mean, I read an article the other day where they're saying, you know, they you could make an entire film in AI, let's say 90-minute film, and it would be as strong as any other film that's out right now in 2 years' time.
Do you think that man, that's sad. That's extremely sad.
It is sad because
Yeah.
it's.
I mean, I'm thinking about all the jobs. I mean, I'm thinking about my camera guys behind me.
I hope I'm
They
wrong. I
are
hope
in
I'm
trouble.
wrong, but
They
I
could
think
be in trouble.
There is like that bridge that it's still not crossing between
Yeah.
the artificial and the human.
Yeah. That's
So
crazy. Talking about the bridge that you about crossing. The most interesting thing right now, the most fascinating thing right now, in the year 2026 is the class of 96. And I think more often than not, we have documentary series, we have different documentaries, and the 96 story has been told numerous times, has been, you know, by different people. You guys do it in a very different way. The story is amazing. It feels like it's from the heart. It feels there's just so much things that you guys have covered.
it is.
How daunting was it for you? I'm gonna start that way because more or less people talk about their success, but what is the daunting process behind all this?
I'm going to tell you, but I want to say that I don't. Although other people have sort of told the story, nobody really has told the story.
Okay.
It's not like
In what sense?
documented in a way where you can look at it and go, "This was the time. These are the players.
Yeah.
This was the political setting. This was the era."
Mm,
Like you have little bits and bytes, like you hear a bit from one player, you hear a bit from one commentator, but it wasn't ever brought together and told, let's tell this story on the grandest canvas that it deserves.
yeah.
Was it daunting? Not really. It was, but I didn't understand yet why. For me, it was like, so John Barker was our director.
Yes.
John is obviously Clive Barker's son.
Yeah.
So he's lived through that, like, been there when all of that played out.
Yeah.
You know? And obviously he's Clive's son. So his connection to the material already is, like, so powerful and emotional. And I remember growing up watching this team. I just finished school. I just matriculated.
Yeah.
And loving this team. Like, I remember where I was when they played those games in AFCON 96. I remember where I was when they won it on, I think, the 3rd of February, 1996.
Yeah.
It's been more than 30 years now. Like, we went past 30 years a few weeks ago. And I remember how excited and how proud I was that we did it. We are a football nation. You know, we won something important.
Yeah.
We were the best side in Africa. Then we go and qualify for our first ever World Cup at at Clive's first chance of trying.
Mm.
And then you just look at that side and you're like, this side played in some of the best clubs in world football. Lucas Kadebe is the only African player to ever captain a European football club, still to this day.
Jeez.
Mark Fish and Sean Bartlett played for Charlton in the English Premier League. Charlton did well. They were often in the top 6 in England.
Yeah.
You know, Benny McCarthy went to Porto, won the Champions League with Jose Mourinho.
Yeah.
Like a few years after that side. He was one of the young guns coming in. So that side is just incredible. I mean, Dr. Kumalo.
Yeah.
One of probably our greatest ever,
Most famous.
Bafana player ever.
Yeah.
Just because he was...
I don't know about greatest, but that's a conversation.
well, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think he was...
But he's
the skill
he's
that
up
he
there.
had, the natural ability, and people forget how good he was at, like, the other things. Like, it wasn't just skill. It was, like, closing down and threading that, like, key through ball like he does for Mark Williams in the final.
Yeah.
he was an icon back then. He's still an icon. They all just, for me, they're legends. The daunting thing for me was like, how are we going to get some of these international football icons to talk about this series?
Yeah.
Because you want to get Jose Mourinho to talk about Benny, him signing Benny, him winning the Champions League with
Yeah.
Benny. You want to get Alan Kirshenbaum to talk about like why he signed Mark Fish and Sean Bartlett.
Yeah.
Howard Wilkinson, why he signed Phil Masinga and Lucas Radebe. And so that I was like, how am I going to get to these guys?
So how did you get to these guys? Because look, all you've been mentioning, these are just icons. Phil Masinga, Mark Fish, Dr. Kumalo, Benny McCarthy, Jose Mourinho, Lucas Radebe, Mark. I'm going on and on. By the way, these are all kind of more or less from the same team.
Yeah.
So how do you go
Phil
about?
Masinga unfortunately passed away a few years
May
ago.
his soul rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Yes. But how do you go about finding these people? I mean, we can go all and on about Jose Mourinho, and thank God he
I'll
was
tell you
there.
honestly.
That was such an amazing moment because he spoke from the heart.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he did, absolutely. And Benny as well.
Yeah.
When you get to episode 6, you'll see Benny.
Mm.
But really, it started out by just like first getting the interviews with the Bafana players from
Okay.
that time. And after speaking to them and developing a relationship with them where they felt they could trust me,
Mm.
you know, like I got to Alan Kirshenbaum because I asked Mark Fish and Sean Bartlett, I said, you know, do you have his contact? Would he mind if I reach out? They made contact with him first, let him know that I was going to call him. And I just called him one day and I said, we would like to come to England and we'd like to interview you. I mean, Martin Tyler, who's one of the most iconic voices in world football.
Yeah.
It was, I didn't know how I was going to get to him, but Mark Gleeson, who's one of our most famous football commentators in South Africa, I asked him and he was like, I happen to have his number.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do you mean? What? I just call Martin Tyler.
And
he's
answered.
like, yeah, just call him.
The
Here's his
Martin
number.
Tyler.
The
answered
Martin
your phone.
Tyler. And I called him and he's like, I don't know what you would expect him to be, but he's like the most modest, accommodating guy you could ever meet.
Yeah.
I mean, Robert Marawa.
Absolutely.
Robert Marawa did the narration on the series for us, and we interviewed him, and he's been so supportive of this. But he's an icon.
Yeah.
He's the voice of South African football.
Yeah.
Robert Marawa.
Jeez. So, in some way, shape, or form, it's not really only about the football stars. It's also about the commentary about people. Because there's one thing I've noticed about sport commentators, particularly, they could talk about something about a community match to the FIFA World Cup final that happened in South Korea in 2002.
Yes.
Why was it so important to have those people? Because we're not just talking about the players here, Martin Tyler, Robert Marawa. Why was it so important to have their voices in this documentary?
Because they, both of them, and I have to say, Mark Gleeson as well.
Yeah.
Their memory of that time is incredible.
And you need that.
And they can distill it. They can go 30 years back, distill that very moment, what was going through, you know, the country's mind, what was going through the player's mind, what was going through Clive's mind.
Yeah.
But like, it was so consistent because you would ask all three of them the same question about that time, and nothing will contradict.
Jeez.
That's how accurate it was.
My gosh.
I mean, you know, Robert recalled some incredible things that I'd forgotten. Like, I'm like, how do you remember that so clearly?
That's incredible. And I also get the sense, I mean, just during this documentary, we spoke about you at the heights when you came in the 2000s. 96 was also a very strong political time in South Africa's history, as we both know. There's aspects in the documentary that I feel that you guys also touch on. Why was it so important to have that in the documentary? The political side, the social side, having their stories, where these players come from, what they had to come through. People like Dr. Lucas Radebe, you know, who was scouted at a late stage. And why was this so important for you to have their stories, their journeys, and also just like the political themes around it?
Look, I think it was an interesting time.
Yeah.
It was 2 years after democracy,
Okay.
94. Mandela was our president. Mandela is a major character in the series.
Yeah.
He was so supportive of Bafana,
Mm.
like from the beginning, from the
Yeah.
get-go. Like he stopped his inauguration in Pretoria to go to the stadium to watch Bafana play. And he was there
I had
he
no
was
idea.
there at the players' hotels every the night before a game, the morning of the final. He was there,
Yeah.
giving them a rousing speech.
Okay.
I mean, we know what he was like when it came to using sport to bring people together.
Absolutely.
He did that with the rugby. He did
Yeah.
with the cricket sides. We'd won the Rugby World Cup the year before in
Yeah.
'95, but winning something as a football nation, like, take nothing away from the rugby side, but like the majority of this country, the sport they love the most is football.
Yeah.
And you can't deny that.
Yeah.
So when Bafana were able to win AFCON 96, it was as big as winning a World Cup. Because it's like what Clive Barker did, which was like ingenious, was that he realized that what made us different as a football nation was our township flair, a Kasi flair. We had, like, Dr. Kamala could do things.
You can't replicate.
You can't replicate.
Yeah, you
that.
can't.
Like just the same way, like the Brazilian side will have that, like
that samba flair.
That samba flair.
Yeah.
We had that.
Jeez.
And that's what he embraced.
Yeah.
And it brought the team together, but it also gave us the dynamic that gave us the edge against other sides.
Yeah. Jeez. Athos, we have to wrap up, but I just need one thing. What message do you want people to take out of this? I mean, look, I know it's quite a vague question, but what is the fundamental message that you think people should come out of, should get out of this documentary series?
I want people to be reminded how together we were back then as a nation.
Yeah.
How we all celebrated, how we all like pushed the team on, and how the country was just together. Like feels, it's 30 years on. There's so many like forces trying to divide us, trying to tear us apart as a nation. But if we believe in something and we all pulling in the same direction, we can achieve great things. This country can still achieve a lot of great things.
Yeah.
And that's just a great reminder for us always that this story now lives as a 6-part series that anyone can watch it and just be inspired.
Yeah.
So I think if audiences take anything out of it, it's to be inspired and also to remember, like, how great we can be.
I love that. Athos, thank you for coming unmasked.
It's a pleasure.
It's been such a pleasure. You have done something great. You have done a story that had to be told, but from their hearts, and I think I can't thank you enough for coming, man. It's such an amazing
Thank you
conversation.
So much, Karabo. Yeah. Please remind your audiences they can watch it on ETV every Sunday from 5 to 6.
Yes.
And every new episode is dropped on Netflix every Tuesday.
Lovely.
So in 2 weeks' time, all 6 will be out and people can binge watch.
Because we're on like episode 4 now, so
we're on episode 4, so there's 2 more.
Yeah. You guys are gonna love it. Class of 96, Rise of a Nation. Athos is out of the building. Thank you, everyone.